So we're in Fresno, California. We just finished repairing a laundry drain out here. We have water coming out outside the wall here. So this is exterior stucco wall. Window here is the laundry room. Got a laundry sink right in this area. And then, of course, next to it is the washer and dryer. And what you've got down here is water coming out of the stem wall. So all of this down here, water pouring out. So usually that means you got a separation in the wall somewhere, but you don't know where until you open the wall up. Two options. One, open the stucco. Two, open the drywall. You got a cabinet here, so it's kind of interesting, but we opted for the inside because it's a pretty good repair out here. It's hard to match this stucco. So anyways, what we did inside is we went ahead and opened up stucco. Before we go inside, I want to take a picture real quick of the drain line. We have a static picture of this that we took before we uninstalled it. This is what the problem was right here. There was a sanitary tee, and of course this PTrap, as old as the home, so probably 70s, and right there it sheared off, so it just snapped off. We see that quite a bit on an exterior wall. A lot of it had to do with it's 2.5 inch pipe, 2 3/4 outside diameter hub, and then you got a 1 inch, about 1 to 1 1/4 outside diameter hot and cold water line behind here, all stuffed into a 3.5 inch wall. So too much pressure on the pipe there, and then any bumping around over a period of time, it separates. So they said they've had problems with the leaking over a period of years, but not as bad. Now it's just flooding everywhere. So this is what we did. We came inside, opened up the wall here first because this is where the washing machine dumps into the sewer line. Opened it up back to the wall and took a hose, ran it in there, and of course we could see it right back in here. So here's the sanitary tee that I told you about sitting right there. And it's all tight. Everything's very tight. You can see the piping comes through the floor. It does a hard 45-degree turn. Super dumb. I mean, I don't know why they did this, but they did, you know. Anyway, so 45-degree buried in concrete, and then this is a 2-inch test tee, so it's a tapped tee, no direction to it. It just stubs straight out the wall, and it's got a plug on it. And unfortunately, what we noted outside, we could see a little spot in the stucco where it appears to be patched, and it's circular. So for whatever reason, they patched this closed. That's not what you want. This is where you clean the sewer line out. If you get this thing, this drain gets backed up, you need to be able to get a snake in there. And of course, they didn't do any favors when they plumbed this, because what you're doing with the snake, immediately you're coming into the line, you're making a hard turn down into the sewer line, then immediately you're going through a 45, and then I'd imagine down probably 12 to 18 inches deep, you're going to do another hard 90 going into the sewer line. So not great, not a great idea. Anyways, that's not why we're here to gripe about. Well, we could gripe a little bit about plumbing, but we don't like that. Anyway, so it comes up, another 45 right here, and finally the pipe turns vertical and comes up, and you can see the first tee. Hopefully, if I'm not blinding it with the flashlight here, that's the first sanitary tee. It's down low that goes over to the laundry sink. That's the back side of the tee, and then of course the next tee up in there, that is the actual. It's not focusing on it. That's the sanitary tee that comes over to the laundry. It's a street tee, so it glues right into the top of that bottom fitting. So that's the tee right there. And then, of course, it's got an adapter and some offsets, and there's a window above, so they offset the vent and take it out. Anyways, what we did, give you a new PTrap right here. It's glued in. We had to snap out the old plastic out of that hub, the one that's existing sanitary tee right there, the one on the right. So we had to get all the pipe out of there, which was fine. It came out. Glue a new piece of pipe in, new PTrap. Of course, the traps are different from 2009 to from 1970s to 2019. They're manufactured a little different. So new PTrap, a couple of offsets to get you close over to the stud so that we could strap it, and of course a riser coming back up. A little strap right there that was existing that we cut, and then put a screw back in to reinforce it so it stays still, and then stub this back out. It's got a little rag in there right now because there's no water in that trap, which means sewer gases can currently come into the home. We don't want that. So that has been drying for about a half an hour, and we want to leave it dry a little longer than what we normally do. You know, if this was all brand new fittings in there and we hadn't chiseled out plastic out of that fitting, we might get away with turning the water on right now. But once this fills with water, there's no way to get it back out, you know, unless you take some kind of compressed air and blow it out of there. So we don't want to put water on that and run the risk of it dripping because the glue hasn't dried yet, because it's not a very uniform surface. You know, these fittings brand new, it's nice and clean on the inside, and it's actually it's a solvent weld, which means the plastic melts together. So anyways, we're gonna let it sit a little bit longer. We just want to take a video of it. So we got that all tied back in, stubbed out. Everything's pulled away from the wall right now. Back here, all the sheetrock is saturated. We had to cut it back that far. We don't like to do that because it makes it hard to repair when you get to the edge of a cabinet. but it was so wet and the repair was so far back in the wall that we had to remove it. So you'll have to get with a drywall guy to figure out how you're going to get that patched. I'm sure there's ways to do it. I'm not a drywall guy, so I don't know. But this is all saturated, the rock all the way to the floor. You might want to like get all this debris out of here and maybe put a fan back here and start blowing this cavity and drying it out. If you've had this issue over a number of years, you do want to be concerned about mold. So you can see the sheetrock has swelled out in different parts where the water's saturated it down low. We've put a knife in it over here, so this is all wet. We'll let you decide how much of this you want to demo, how much you want to air dry with a fan, whatever you want to do. But like I say, you do run the risk of mold, and mold is a health issue, so proceed with caution. And I'll leave that up to you. In this area right here, we can see back in the back of that cabinet, that's mold. It's growing, and so that's black mold back there on the back, down on the right side of the drain coming through the wall, mold up there. You can try and get in there if you'd like to at some point and clean it with some Clorox. If it goes away, great. Clean it. Maybe it's just in surface, and then get a fan in here, get it drying out. Or you might have to demo this out. I can't tell you the extent of the damage because, once water gets into the walls, gets down into your, the bottom plate, the framing structure, gets into the insulation, you can't get the water, especially out of insulation. So one thing you'll have to do here is replace the insulation. It was in the wall right there. It was saturated with water, so we threw it away. And that's your exterior wall, so you do want to insulate it. I mean, that little piece right there might not be bad, if you didn't replace it. But you do need a new piece right there. So that was all moldy and whatnot. So get that replaced. Here underneath we had additional problem was the sink. The nut at the tailpiece to the basket strainer was just sitting there. It wasn't even attached to the sewer line. It was in line, so it was draining correctly, but you were getting some water blowing through. So we got a brand new nut right here. The old one was rusted out and it wouldn't connect to the junior basket strainer. So brand new nut, and then that's the existing tailpiece. That's our extension, that tubular piece that comes down. That's our extension that we purchased, and the PTrap. And then, of course, an adapter that goes over to the Schedule 40 ABS that was stubbed out originally. So all that's brand new. We've run water down it. There's no leaking there, so that's good. So your water issue, the leaking issue, is buttoned up as far as we can tell currently. Now what we've done is run water down here, but we haven't run water down that yet. Like I said, we want to let that dry a little bit longer. Everything's documented now, so we have a written documentation as well as this video documentation, and then we'll go ahead and turn the water on and test that out, and everything is good. We will be complete. Outside of that, this installation is done.